evening, everyone. I'd like to call to order the August 13th, 2025 meeting of the Fond du Lac City Council. The first item of business is roll call, which is done electronically, and I will declare a quorum present with Ms. Leering and Mr. Schussler currently absent. Next, we will have the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silent reflection. Please rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, and then a special item on our agenda, we'd like to acknowledge some departing city employees. We want to take a moment to recognize two longtime employees who are leaving us for new opportunities. First, City Deputy Attorney Ali Panagopoulos is leaving, and we just want to wish her well on her new opportunities and thank her so much on behalf of the City Council and the residents of the City of Fond du Lac for her service. She's been a pleasure to work with. I think we can all say that we've enjoyed working with Ali. And then, since Mr. Bolthouse is here, I just want to recognize John Mark Bolthouse, our library director, who has just been an incredible asset to the City of Fond du Lac. The library has just seen some incredible transitions during his tenure as director. We have the Idea Studio, the makerspace that we have now, the Cindy Barden Teachers Resource Center, which is not just for teachers. So I hope more people check that out because there's just incredible resources there. He's expanded the way our library serves our community with our Library of Things and things now like experience passes and even video streaming. He's diligently worked on the library budget to make it possible for the library to go fine-free on reading material, which has helped expand service to community members, including people like me, who constantly had fines. So now I can let my kids check out all the books they want without worrying about losing all of our income to the library. He managed the library during a pandemic, which was a first for our community, and did it just so gracefully and helping serve our community in the way that it needed. And he's even made practical transitions, such as redesigning the parking lot to make it better to return materials to the book drops. I can't list enough things because there's just so many incredible things that John Mark has done for our library. I want to thank him for his leadership, and I can confidently say because of him we have the best library in the state, which I think might be why he's leaving the state. He's got to go make a new best library somewhere else. So thank you. He's been committed to making the Fond du Lac Public Library radically welcoming, and our community has been made so much better for that. So thank you, John Mark, for all you've done for our community. We want to wish you well. We're sad that you're leaving us, but we are so excited to you for your new opportunity, so thank you. And I hope I didn't embarrass you too much. I'll just pause for a moment. Mr. Schussler is arriving, if we can make note. But next on our agenda is public hearings, and we have none of those. So we will move on to the consent agenda. The consent agenda finalizes the proposed actions for the meeting. A, July 23rd, 2025 minutes. B, list of claims dated August 6, 2025. And C, denial of claim, claimant Paul Schomer. Is there any discussion on this item? Mr. Schussler, I'm assuming you don't have any discussion on the consent agenda? No? With that, I will entertain a motion.
I'll move approval. Antonio will second.
Motion by Mr. Heisler, second by Mr. Godfrey. Is there any other discussion? Seeing none, please proceed to vote. And that passes unanimously. Next on our agenda is audience comments, agenda and non-agenda items. The presiding officer will limit speaking time for non-agenda items to 1 minute and items noticed on the agenda to 5 minutes. Ms. Hefter, do we have anyone wishing to speak? We do have a couple. We do. Did I grab those from you? Sorry. There they are. So first we'll have Ms. Laura DeGallier, who wishes to speak on item 6C, community development.
Thank you, Madam President. At the first meeting in November, the 13th of 2024, Councilmember Tom Schuessler brought to the council's attention that no action has been apparent on the North Main Street corridor development plans developed in 2023 and approved by the council in that year. He requested of the Community Development Director a report on activity on the North Main Street Long-Term Vision Plan. Mr. Schuessler received no response from the Community Development Director. His request for information was repeated by me in January, March, May, and July, at which time I followed my request with a Freedom of Information request. Those are the facts. I would remind Ms. Benson that Councilor Schuessler is a duly elected representative of the citizens of Fond du Lac and as such one of her bosses. To have neglected his request from November 2024 to this date is disrespectful not only of Mr. Schuessler, but of all the citizens of the city. Some additional facts on the Freedom of Information request. The request was filed on July 10th. However, after 2 weeks, the time the law allows, I had not heard anything. When I inquired, I was asked to be patient, as the employee who would deal with my request was just coming back in the office from a leave of absence. I waited. The first response was that my request was not specific enough, so the request was denied. We resolved that issue. Here is where the situation stands as of today. From the city, we estimate it will take city staff an average of 3.5 hours to locate and copy the responsive records. The city will require prepayment in full before we begin fulfilling your request. Please remit $160.15 to the city to cover the above referenced costs. This estimate is made in good faith, and in the event the actual cost exceeds this amount, we will bill you for the addition. Similarly, in the event the actual cost incurred by the city is less than estimate, the city will refund the difference. No alternative was suggested, such as coming in to read the documents or sending them by email. Certainly, this type of barrier makes it impossible for an ordinary citizen to seek information that rightfully belongs in the public domain. The Community Development Director continues to obfuscate and show no evidence of what has become of the plan that the citizens have approved in 2023. If the city does not owe me any consideration in allowing me to see the records requested, at the very least, it should have honored the request of Councilor Schuessler in 2024. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Charlene Weiss, who wishes to speak on erosion of Denevue Creek banks, which is a non-agenda item.
Thank you, city members for listening to me tonight. My name is Charlene Weiss. I own a home and property at 383 Taft Street that abuts the Denevue Creek. In the 1920s, this creek was rerouted and dug with man-made banks on both sides, which is deteriorating every year. Since the lot survey on my property was done, I've lost approximately 8 feet of land because of erosion. I'm speaking about the area between the Stowe Street Bridge and the Scott Street Bridge, east side, land that is owned by the city. Just recently, 3 very large trees fell in this area, blocking the water from getting to Lake Winnebago. I've been watching the city-owned banks erode for these reasons. 1, the city maintenance department scalped the banks to the water level, killing the vegetation, which causes the erosion and harm to wildlife. I'm thankful that they have not cut this area recently and hope they keep it this way. 2, the city has approximately 6 pumping stations that pump thousands of gallons of storm water runoff into
Ms.
this.
Weiss, I'm so sorry, but that has been your minute.
My husband will finish, thank you.
Thank you. Next, we will have Aaron Rawls, who also wishes to speak on Denevue Creek and Fond du Lac Off-Road Park.
Yes, thank you, council members. Again, my name's Aaron Rawls. I've been a resident of this community over 60 years. I'm going to just support my wife. I live in the residence. All this erosion on the Denevue Creek is ridiculous. We, thank you, Tiffany, finally got some cooperation with the city to stop scalping the banks. I've tried to mediate with them, reason if they just topped it off, left some vegetation down to the water, that would even be good. But for years they hadn't done that till Tiffany got it to stop, and we hope it continues to stop. That's on the Denevue Creek. Charlene probably forgot to say on that, she'd like to get it into one of your, what do you call it, programs where it gets I'm asking the city council to address the erosion problem because I have discussed the matter with several top city staff members for the last 5 years, which in my mind have fallen on deaf ears. Every year they tell me it's in the CIP, but yet we do not see that plan. That's what I was trying to describe. So a little bit of rocks on the banks and quit cutting the grass. They don't cut it with a lawnmower. They use a heavy machine with a big mower on the end that goes down in the water and just rips out the roots, everything falls in the river. That's it on that.
That's been your minute.
Okay, 1 minute for the off-road park. That's my beef.
Sorry, sir. It's 1 minute per person. So,
Okay, I'll come back.
I'm so
Maggie said
sorry,
that I
but-
could do 1 minute on the topic of the creek and 1 minute.
oh gosh, it's a second item. I'm sorry. Yes, you can have another minute on that item. Yes.
All right, again, my name's Aaron Rawls, lived in this community over 60 years. The off-road park over on South Main near 41 was my playground when I was a kid. So I was a member of everything that's occurred over the last 50 years there, 2 clubs. I only got 45 minutes. I gave you guys some of the history on 3 pages that I want you to read. Where I'm going with this is I don't know why there's such a wall with the top city officials with trying to get that open for anything. I don't care. I understand there's people that come, they want to ride mountain bikes there. This was a free place that has a parking lot, a fence. It's been all paid for. And the city continues to keep the gate locked and not cooperate with anybody that wants to use that as a park. So yeah, I know the city doesn't own the land. That's true too. I have even been in contact many times with the city or the company that owns it. Their agent tells me that if the city officials give it a kiss and a blessing, they will go along with whatever group wants to do something there.
Thank you, Mr. Rawls. And we did
Thank
get
you
both
for
of
letting
your-
me speak.
both of your statements. Thank you. And next we have John F. Huber, who wishes to speak on fire inspection failures, which is a non-agenda item.
My name's John Huber. 20 years ago, I moved a business from my garage to a commercial building. Subsequent to that, in 2015, they started doing fire inspections. I was called a female sheep or a commercial building, and the landlord was never present for the next 10 years. On October 23rd, 2024, there was a fire in this commercial building that smoked my business. 3 weeks before the fire inspection team showed up without the landlord. A year prior to the fire, I communicated my concerns about improper procedures and damages by fire with Tom Schuessler. I never got a response back or why I was being portrayed as that element for an inspection. I was not the commercial building, the landlord, just the tenant. As it was, my business suffered almost complete destruction. Everybody is standing back, deferring from action, authority, and responsibility.
I'm so sorry, Mr. Huber, but that's been your minute.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, with that, that ends our audience comments. So we will move on to our action items. Action item A is a Class C wine license. Limited liability company Noel's Touch Aesthetics LLC. Agent name Noel Dibert, doing business as Noel's Touch Aesthetics. Business address 42 North Main Street. And our introduction is by our city clerk, Ms. Hefter.
Thank you, President Brault. Noel Dibert is applying for a Class C wine license at 42 North Main Street so she can provide complimentary wine to clients. Background checks were done, and city staff and Alcohol License Committee recommend approval.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Ms. Hefter? Seeing none, I will entertain a motion. Motion by Mr. Godfrey, and second by Mr. Zimmerman. Is there any other discussion? Seeing none, please proceed to vote. And that passes unanimously. Thank you. Item B is Class C wine license. Limited liability company Twisted Warrior LLC. Agent name Lucille Mathers, doing business as the Twisted Warrior Yoga Studio. Business address 15 North Main Street, 3rd floor. And our introduction, again, is by our city clerk, Ms. Hefter.
Thank you. Lucille Mathers is also applying for a Class C wine license at 15 North Main Street at Twisted Warrior Yoga Studio to also serve wine to her clients. Background checks were also done, and city staff and alcohol license committee recommend approval.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Ms. Hefter? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion. Motion by Mr. Mullen and second by Mr. Godfrey. Is there any other discussion? Seeing none, please proceed to vote. And that passes unanimously. Item C is resolution number 9196, a resolution authorizing the issuance and sale of up to $156,187 taxable private LSL replacement loan program revenue bonds, Series 2025A, and providing for other details and covenants with respect thereto, with our introduction by our Director of Administration, Ms. Davy.
Thank you. So my comments will apply to the next three resolutions because they're all related to different safe drinking water loans. In March, you adopted some changes to our lead service replacement ordinance to allow us to be able to take advantage of this funding so we could provide additional financial assistance to the property owners. So the DNR is now ready for us to close on the loans and execute the various financial assistance agreements. Since each of our three loans has a different level of principal forgiveness, we have to have three different resolutions to meet the different bond covenants and continue with the closing process. So we have three different ones because the level of principal forgiveness is dictated by the census tracts. So the 100% principal forgiveness loan is for properties that are in our qualified census tract, which is typically the lower income properties. The 75% loan or forgiveness loan is for properties that are in census tracts that are adjacent to the qualified census tract. And then the 50% loan is for all other properties that are located within the city. So I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Ms. Davy? Seeing none, I will entertain a motion. Motion by Mr. Godfrey, second by Mr. Heisler. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, please proceed to vote. And that passes unanimously. Item D is resolution number 9197, a resolution authorizing the issuance and sale of up to $230,694 taxable private LSL replacement loan program revenue bonds, Series 2025B, and providing for other details and covenants with respect thereto. Are there any questions on this resolution? Seeing none, I will entertain a motion. Motion by Mr. Schussler and second by Mr. Heisler. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, please proceed to vote. And that passes unanimously. Item E, resolution number 9198, a resolution authorizing execution of the Department of Natural Resources Principal Forgiven Financial Assistance Agreement. And this was
This is
tied into
part of it,
these
yes.
as well.
This
Yes,
is the
okay.
100% principal forgiveness part.
So are there any questions on this resolution? Seeing none, I will entertain a motion. (9198). Motion by Mr. Heisler. Second by Mr. Godfrey. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, please proceed to vote. And that passes unanimously. Item F is resolution number 9199, a resolution authorizing waiver of the prohibition against possession of alcoholic beverages on Sheboygan Street for Envision Greater Fond du Lac's member appreciation event on September 4th, 2025, and our introduction is by our city clerk, Ms. Hefter.
Thank you. Envision Greater Fond du Lac is requesting the city to waive open intoxicants on Sheboygan Street for their annual customer appreciation event on September 4th. No glass containers or carry-ins will be allowed in the designated area, and posting a private event will be placed on barricades. A special event application has been approved, and city staff recommends approval.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Ms. Hefter? Seeing none, I will entertain a motion. A motion by Mr. Mullen, second by Mr. Schussler. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, please proceed to vote. And that passes unanimously. Item G is ordinance number 3813, an ordinance annexing property to the city of Fond du Lac and change limits to include property along the south side of West State Highway 23 and east of Wisconsin American Drive. Our introduction is by our Community Development Director, Ms. Benson.
Thank you, Ms. Brault. The City of Fond du Lac has what is called a cooperative plan or an intergovernmental agreement with the 5 adjoining towns. That agreement outlines the areas where the city can grow and where the towns can grow. And those areas that are in the city's growth area where the property owner kind of anticipates future development or more intensive development or needs access to city services, annexation is required. So this parcel is just immediately east of Wisconsin American Drive, formerly the Hive, and the future buyer is looking to annex into the city about those 4 acres fronting Johnson Street. And so the recommendation is to approve.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Ms. Benson? Seeing none, I will entertain a motion. Motion by Mr. Godfrey, second by Mr. Heisler. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, please proceed to vote. And that passes unanimously. Item H is ordinance number 3814, a zoning ordinance to zone annexed property to C2 General Commercial Residential, 4.55 acres of land on West State Highway 23. Again, our introduction is by our Community Development Director, Ms. Benson.
Thank you, Ms. Brault. Congratulations, you recently just expanded the city's boundaries by 4.55 acres. And as a result, and anytime that land is added to the city boundaries, we know that every city has not only land use, but zoning. And so the zoning for the city is recommended to be C2 Commercial District. Plan Commission reviewed, and we recommend approval.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Ms. Benson? Seeing none, I will entertain a motion. Motion by Mr. Mullen, second by Mr. Zimmerman. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, please proceed to vote. And that passes unanimously. That ends our action items, so we'll move on to the presentation of input items. Item A is a presentation of Annual Comprehensive Financial Report, ACFR, presented by Brian Grunwald, Principal, Clifton Larson Allen, LLP.
All right, I'm Brian Grunewald with Clifton Larson Allen. Thank you for having me here this evening. And before I get started, I do want to thank Tricia and your team for their cooperation and assistance that we received throughout the audit process. From my perspective, the audit goes very well. The city is very well prepared, very responsive, and certainly enjoy working with you and your team. That being said, I just put together a brief PowerPoint. This is intended to give you an overview of the audited financial statements. Very high level. If you have any specific questions that you'd like me to address, I'd be more than happy to answer any questions. This first slide here, included within your annual comprehensive financial report, there's actually 3 different independent auditors' reports. So this is intended to give you an overview of each one of those reports. The first is considered the audit opinion. That starts out on page 10. It's considered to be an unmodified opinion. That is the highest level of assurance that you can receive as part of the audit process. It is considered to be clean, meaning I believe that your financial statements are complete and accurate and in accordance with our professional standards. The second item there references internal control. In addition to that audit opinion, we also do consider the organization's internal control structure. We do not issue an opinion, but we do consider how things are done. Think of that as how you handle cash, how you process payroll, how you pay your bills, for example. When we do become aware of what we refer to as findings or conditions, we are required to report those. So your financial statements do include a reference to one finding. You can see that listed on the slide here. We did propose one adjustment to the city's financial records, and we're just disclosing that as part of the audit process. And then the last item there, because of the federal and state aid that you received, we also do have a report on compliance and the testing that we do as a part of that process. Happy to report no items of concern, no findings, no issues or concerns with regards to compliance in the federal and state programs that we tested as part of the audit process. And I also just wanted to remind you and congratulate you that in addition to our review and our audit opinion, the city also voluntarily goes through the process with the Government Finance Officers Association, and you continue to receive the Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting. So this is included within your annual comprehensive financial report. And do want to congratulate you. This is the 30th consecutive year that you've received that award. So that, just as a reminder, that is a voluntary process. Because of your participation in that, you do provide additional information in your financial statements. There's additional introductory, supplementary, and statistical information included in your financial statements. And again, based on their review, they've continued to issue this award. So certainly, very impressive streak that you have going on there. And just note that this is in response to their review of the 12/31/2023 financial statements. The 2024 financial statements have been submitted. Based on what I've seen, I have full faith that you will also be receiving another award for that 2024 financial statement. But again, just want to congratulate you on that award. Then this slide, just wanted to give you an overview. Every governmental audit, there's information that we're required to communicate as part of the audit process. So this is an overview of the topics that we're required to discuss and disclose. We issue a governance letter that touches on these further. Again, if you look at the language in there, very standardized language, a lot of accounting terminology. The content hasn't changed a lot from year to year. A couple things that I do want to highlight or emphasize is under the topic of significant accounting policies. We are required to follow governmental accounting standards, and each year we seem to be implementing a new governmental accounting standards. So you will see references within the financial statements and that governance communication with a reference to Governmental Accounting Standards Board Statement number 101, which deals with compensated absences. Those references are because you're required to implement that standard, and you've done that. Then also just want to touch on, again, the reference to audit adjustments on the bottom line there. Again, all adjustments that I'm aware of are included in your financial statements. No concerns with regards to that. So nothing here that's a red flag. Again, just required type communication. Then I just had a few high-level comments with regards to financial conditions. So this first slide is focusing on your general fund and looking at your fund balance reserves, what you have left as at the end of the year. I always like this slide because it gives you some perspective on what your balances have been over the course of the last few years. And as you can see quickly on the slide, your balances did increase slightly for 2023. And then for 2024, you also see the increase. For 2024, the sum of all of your revenues exceeded all of your expenses by approximately $2.2 million. So you do see the increase in your fund balance reserves that are left at the end of the year. So certainly a very strong year financially for your general fund. I'm not going to get into a lot of the detail with regards to the whys on that. If you do want to look further at that, you certainly could review the management discussion and analysis. There is a section in there that refers to budgetary highlights, and then there's also a budget to actual statement in your financial statements that I would also refer you to. Just to touch briefly on the individual categories there, the assigned and committed balances are balances that have been earmarked or set aside for specific purposes. Those are disclosed on pages 78 through 80 in your financial statements. And the one line that I really want to focus on is that unassigned category. That's really dollars that are available. They haven't been set aside. There's no restrictions related to those. And just wanted to emphasize, if you look at that dark blue category and how that has grown as you work across the slide, you can see how it's gone from 6.5 million up to 9.3 million for 2023, and then ending 2024 at 11.5 million. So again, certainly very strong growth, very strong in terms of your overall financial condition for your general fund and your fund balance reserves. This graph also gives you some additional perspective on your fund balance. This is only focusing on that unassigned category, and it's a very common benchmark to compare that unassigned fund balance to the amount of expenditures flowing through your budget and express that as a percentage. You can see that percentage listed on the slide here, and consistent with what you saw on the previous slide, where 2023, the unassigned dollars had increased in that category, and 2024 as well. You can see that in the percentages here, ending 2024 at over 30%. So again, certainly very strong in terms of your overall fund balance levels. I know you do have a fund balance policy as well that is discussed a little bit on page 80 of your financial statements. And again, from a benchmarking perspective, certainly very strong. Any thoughts or questions or comments with regards to fund balance reserves?
Do any council members have any questions currently on fund balance? No, but thank you.
Okay. Then I'll move on, and the other item that I always like to look at is general obligation debt. Again, just thinking of financial condition and long-term liabilities. I like this slide because it gives you perspective with regards to your statutory debt limit. So based on the equalized value of the property within the city, there's a statutory debt limit. You can see that in the blue line. You can see how that has grown. Back in 2020, that debt limit was approximately 157 million. That's grown up to 220 million. So nice, strong growth. That's driven based on the equalized value. So obviously your equalized value increasing as well. And then the green line is really showing you the amount of outstanding general obligation debt, how much principal you owed as of the end of the year. At the end of 2020, it was approximately 81.8 million. At the end of 2024, it's approximately 96 million. From a benchmarking perspective, I always like to look at the gap between those two lines, meaning what's the statutory limit versus how much do you actually have outstanding. For perspective purposes, back in 2020, you were using about 52% of your statutory limit. That has decreased to 43.7% at the end of 2024. Again, just highlights the increase in your equalized value over the course of time there. So certainly good news there. And then just wanted to give you a few items looking forward. Again, I referenced the Governmental Accounting Standards Board earlier. I referenced statement number 101, that was implemented for your 2024 audit. There are additional standards that they've already approved. They are required to be implemented over the course of the next few years. I will continue to work with Tricia and your team to make sure that those standards are properly implemented as they are required to be implemented. And then I also just wanted to touch briefly on the ARPA funding. As a reminder, you do receive a significant amount of ARPA funding. From an audit standpoint, I touched briefly on the compliance aspect earlier, testing of federal and state aid. We did test the ARPA funding as part of this year's audit process. Just wanted to reiterate that and remind you, no issues, no concerns with regards to a compliance or how those dollars are being spent. So. And that is all the comments I had prepared, but certainly happy to entertain any questions.
Well, thank you so much for the presentation. Are there any questions from council members? Mr. Schussler.
Thank you. Either Ryan or Tricia, what's the connection with between the audit results and the city's debt rating? Is there any connection, or when they're looking at?
As part of our ratings call, and actually we just had one this week, they do take a look at our financial statements and they will pour through those, ask us questions on the different components that are in it. And they look through that to make sure that we're in a sound financial position.
Who's the they again?
S&P,
Okay.
our rating agency.
Okay. That's it.
Thank you. Are there any other questions from council? Oh, Mr. Mullen?
Yes. The increase in the unassigned balance, does that have anything to do with the increase in shared revenue?
Not much due to that. It's mostly because of the interest rates right now and because of the balances that we have in our bank account, and interest rates are so high compared to what we've seen in the past. That's the primary reason for that increase.
That was a good question. Thank you. I'm not seeing any other questions from council. So once again, thank you so much for the presentation and all the work that goes into this reporting. Thank you to Ms. Davy and your team for all the work that gets done behind the scenes and the excellent work that we keep seeing from the city. So thank you for keeping that up. With that, we will move on to our next input item, which is the Department of Public Works 2026 budget presentation, presented by Director of Public Works, Mr. DeVries.
Thank you, President Brault. I appreciate the opportunity to present the budget tonight, and want to thank you for your past support and look forward to your support going forward as well. I do want to start off to read the mission statement just as a beginning point: to maintain the city's transportation systems, natural resources, and infrastructure in a professional, cost-effective manner while meeting high standards of integrity, industriousness, and customer service. And our team tonight, as you can see, we've assembled here. You got a great bunch of leaders here, and they truly are leaders and experienced in their field. Chris is our city engineer. Adam's our operations superintendent. Travis is waterworks. Aaron is our fleet and electrical. Cody at wastewater, and John in our parks. Currently, our transit manager is vacant, but we are actively seeking to fill that position. Even though not here tonight, I would like to thank Joe Moore for his support of our budget. We always work closely with him and with Tricia, and I thank her and her team for putting the budget together and giving us the guidelines and the way we can go about funding the mission that we have to do here. So the bottom of this slide does put some numbers to it. Those are estimates right now, but it kind of puts a perspective on how much investment the city is making within public works, whether it's the capital improvement plan, the operations, and then more importantly, the employees. As you heard many times before, the employees and personnel costs are a majority of our service, and those 117 full-time and part-time and seasonals are all part of that. One thing to note with this, the waterworks and wastewater are ratepayer funded, so they're not part of our tax levy. Our solid waste collection and most of transit is also funded by other sources. Next slide, please. So here's just a general organizational chart to note how we've spread across different divisions. And up at the top, there's a breakout of the different employees, 66 in the general fund, the rest in other funds that are, as I mentioned, funded by other sources or ratepayer dollars. Next slide, please. So here, the next couple slides, we do have just a list of assets we have in the city and also the work we've done, and this is just based on 2024. There's quite a bit here. I'm not going to go through all of it, but if you were ever wondering at night, you know, how many miles of water main we have or how many billions of gallons that Cody and his team have treated at the wastewater plant, what else is on there? How many different species of trees John and his team have planted over the years and signalized intersections, the amount of road salt we've used. So if you're ever looking to fall asleep, you can go through this and dream about what Public Works do on a daily basis. So if there's any questions on those, feel free to reach out, you know, when I'm done, and we can go into detail there. But it's more just for informational purposes, share with the public in case someone brings up a question and wants to know something, you have some information. Next slide, please. Keep going. Thank you. One more. All right, so here we have our Municipal Service Center, which is our construction and maintenance that's headed up by Adam, and then Fleet and Electrical headed up by Aaron. A lot of what these crews do is general, traditional public works, snow plowing, cleaning streets, basin repair, street lights, signalized intersections, vehicle repair, along with our annual hazardous waste collection and electrical or electronics recycling. One thing new in the upper left there are movable vehicle barriers, which you've seen in the downtown deployed this year if you've been at an event like the farmers market. That's an unfortunate new thing that we've put in place, and but we've worked with the city team, all of the city team here tonight to put that into effect for this year, and that'll be one of the items in the 26 CIP that we would ask for funding for to complete that, and that will give us the number of barriers we need to, you know, fully protect parades, different events, things like that. Next slide, please. So a lot of what these crews will do will continue to be the same, and they're very good at it, and so that's a good thing to have in our arsenal here. And a couple other highlights other than the movable vehicle barriers is the Main Street resurfacing project. As we all know, that's been going on. We had Adam and his team, Aaron and his team working on it, and Chris in engineering as well. We also had a lot of help from Diane and Tricia on the communication and coordination side. As you can imagine, a lot of affected businesses, residents. We need to make sure we're getting information out that's important. and useful for that. And that's been a project that's getting close to the end. Within a few weeks, we should be wrapping that up, but that's been all hands on deck project that's happened this year. We can move on to the next slide, please. So engineering highlights. A lot of what engineering has are projects that are multi-million dollars a lot of times, whether that be utility and street reconstruction every year, or maintenance projects like on bridges and on mill and overlays. We also have the Proman Drive Bridge, which is ongoing right now in Lakeside Park, and the Pavilion parking lot as well is being redone. So a lot of that is Chris and his team's working behind the scenes to get these projects, a couple years, maybe sometimes ahead of time. And we want to make sure that we continue to fund those and fix our aging infrastructure. Next slide, please. So one of the ongoing projects we have is Lincoln and Thomas Pump Station. If you haven't gone by there in a while, it's actively being worked on, and it's taken good shape. It's all above ground not all above ground construction, but the construction is above ground now, and hopefully you'll notice that we tried to make it look like it would fit the neighborhood instead of just a classic public works building that's solid, concrete block and a metal roof or something. So hopefully that fits in good with that neighborhood. We also have the Stowe Street Bridge next year, some traffic signal upgrades. And then we've also heard from the Fond du Lac Loop partners that there's some safety improvements that we want to do there. So there'll be some signage and some flashing beacons going up next year to help increase the safety along the loop. Lastly, we do have stormwater underneath engineering as well, and Chris and his team. So as we've heard many times, we have TMDL improvements we need to continue to make per the DNR, and so we'll continue to fund those, and whether it's design or construction, we'll be working on those. Next slide, please. This year, we were able to fund some parks projects in parks and forestry. A couple of the pictures there, we have a great partner, BCI Burke, that has helped us with playgrounds over the years, and they're right here in Fond du Lac, and it's great to have them as a partner to not only help with the projects, but get some really creative designs and some newer stuff out there that only our citizens, residents, and visitors can take a look at when they first unveil them. So that's a great partner you have. The other picture up there is our park storage building. So if you recall, over a year ago, that one had a fire, obviously, and a big loss for us. That's just getting the finishing touches this week and next week, and so they'll be ready to put it into full use. So that's a good thing that we got that back up and running. Next slide, please. So going forward, we have a lot of amenities in the park. Obviously, they need maintenance. Everything needs maintenance. So there will be maintenance projects, parking lots, various playgrounds coming up. Adelaide Park, we have a baseball field. We're going to work on the fencing there and dugouts. And then some additional cameras and Wi-Fi at Buttermilk Creek Park to help that park out. And then the last one there is the pathways to playgrounds. We're creating a hard surface that's ADA accessible for a lot of playgrounds, and we're trying to get those installed at all the parks around the city where it's feasible. Next slide, please. So even though we don't have a transit manager, we have some very dedicated drivers and our assistant transit manager, and they've kept the buses rolling. They've done a great job at providing transportation services and keeping that going. We received 4 new buses recently, along with the paratransit bus, which is in the middle there. And so with the fixed route buses on the top, we'll be set for probably a good decade or so with the recent purchase and delivery of those buses. And the paratransit ones are ones we purchase one a year to replace. And we do contract with the county to provide that service, and they've been a good partner for us as well. Next slide, please. So a couple things, just mentioned the county being part of our contract services. We also have changed the route to the new Fond du Lac County campus, which used to be the UW-Oshkosh Fond du Lac campus. And so they've moved some services out there that need to have some transit. And so we were able to switch a route, pretty minor change, and to be able to serve the people that are needing those services from the county. So that was a good partnership there too. Another thing we do, the Buses to Books with the library over the summer, and a free fair day, which is coming up, to help students navigate using the bus, maybe for the first time, or maybe they just need to start using it as a service. So we want to be able to provide some training and help them learn how to ride the bus without it being too much of a scary thing for them. On the microtransit study, we had worked on that with a consultant, and unfortunately found it to be cost prohibitive at this point. But we've kind of reworked some options there and want to work with the new transit manager to come back and see what's possible to get some service. Maybe it's not going to be exactly what we wanted, but to provide some service outside of our normal operating hours and to make it cost effective, not only for the city, but for our residents. So that'll be forthcoming. Next slide, please. So in Waterworks, you noticed the name. We rolled out that last year with Martin Road Tower getting repainted and having the name changed. So they're rolling that out. And that's a tribute to the original name from 125 years ago when public water service was started to be provided here in Fond du Lac. So kudos to Travis and his team for rolling that out, and you'll see that kind of filtering through as they get through different vehicles and letterhead, all that kind of stuff. You'll start seeing that. The other thing that we've done a lot of is the lead service lines. You know, we've talked about that quite a bit. We just had DNR loans that we approved, so thank you for that. So Travis and his team have stepped up the replacement of that and worked with private side and public side. And so we've been more aggressive this year, and we'll continue to be that way for at least another 2 years while we anticipate DNR funding, and we hope that continues so that we're able to keep being aggressive with the program of replacing the public side and the private side. So that's been a good thing. The other thing that they've worked on the picture there, you know, it's an old pipe. There's aging systems, so we always have replacements to do, and also creating some redundancy in the system so that water is always available. Next slide, please. So the other item to mention here, there's a storage building they want to put an addition on in Moore Street to help improve some operations, and then our continued private lead service laterals as well. There's some other projects along Pioneer Road that we've partnered with the county on that Travis and his team will replace their water main on that, but those are kind of strung out through the next few years. Also, just last to note, water, again, is separate from the general fund. It's ratepayer funded, so it's not affected by the general tax levy. Next slide, please. All right, the final division here, Cody and his team. And, you know, they do a lot behind the scenes and behind the fence. I know some of you, or maybe all of you, have taken the tour out there and been able to see what all goes on out there. And I bet you they would probably spend a whole day or more with you if you wanted to and you had the time, because they love talking about it. And that's a tribute to their staff. As you can see the picture there, it's not just here that they've noticed that. It's around the state and around the whole industry. So they continue to win some awards. The latest one there is from Central States Water Environmental Association for renewable energy, energy efficiency, and resource recovery, which a lot of that's in their title, and then also goes along with the equipment in the upper left there is for the RNG project and the biosolids dryer, and that construction has just started and will continue into next year. And those will be two things that you take the resource recovery and put it to good use instead of having to waste it somehow. The other picture there is the Anamox project. If you recall, we talked about that a few years ago. Just recently, they were able to harvest some of those granules and actually sell them, and they got shipped off to a place in Brazil. I'm not sure exactly where yet. Cody can fill you in on that, but it's just a really neat thing to be able to say you've helped fund or start up a project like this in another country. And it's just another testament to what they do down there, and it's really great to see. Next slide, please. So ongoing will be the biosolids dryer and RNG. There's also an expansion of the lab and admin building coming in a couple years, and just the ongoing phosphorus compliance. We can talk about that forever if we want. One of the things completed recently was water quality trading with the county at the airport, so that was another good partner there. And that'll be something that'll always be kind of on their forefront to get going. With that, we can go to the next slide. So I'll close just by saying, you got an experienced and professional leadership group here, and I really like working with them. They've done a great job, and basically they're able to help me do my job as well. And by doing all of that together with their crews, they're able to serve the citizens, businesses, and residents of Fond du Lac. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
All right, thank you so much. I will open it up to questions from council, and we'll start with Mr. Schussler.
Thank you. It's a water question for either Travis or Paul. The state budget, they had a bunch of money for PFAS remediation. Am I right? There's a big component in the state budget for that?
I don't know the exact number for it, but yes, there is money included in that.
So I know we don't have a PFAS problem. Are we going to be eligible to apply for grants from that pool of money is it narrowly limited to communities that have PFAS?
I would say it's probably limited to the communities that have it and are affected. And Travis, you can jump in if you want.
Sorry. Yeah, that's for the emerging contaminants section. So it's new upcoming contaminants that are in water that the DNR is making regulations for. So it's kind of just for that. And PFAS is an emerging contaminant. So it's strictly for PFAS.
Why would Fond du Lac not have emerging contaminants? I mean, it seems like we're
awesome.
We can't be perfect. I mean,
Up till now, we don't have anything.
all right.
So
Thank you.
Thank you. Keep our fingers crossed that we stick with that. But good question. Thank you. Mr. Heisler.
Thank you, President Brault. Paul, great presentation as always. Just a quick update on the transit manager situation. Where are you at in that process, if you wouldn't mind expanding that a little bit?
Yeah, so the position is currently open, and we've interviewed candidates and talking to some more, so we're hopefully getting closer.
Excellent. Sounds good. And Cody, turn your mic on and brag about Brazil. There you go.
Unfortunately, I don't have a ton of detail exactly where in Brazil it's going. It's just interesting how our first sale of granules isn't actually in our own country. But yeah, very exciting. The system's been online now for a little over 6 years, and this is the first request for granules that actually came to fruition. So it's nice to see.
Very cool. Thank you, sir. Great team, great presentation. Thanks, Paul.
Thank you, Mr. Heisler. I am not currently seeing any other questions from council. I guess the one question I have is, I think at the top of a lot of people's mind is street flooding after seeing what happened in the Milwaukee area just in the last few days. So I know we had our pilot project on 14th Street. We've talked a lot about that. Is there any projects in the works or things that you're looking at to consider when we're looking at street flooding?
Yeah, so Chris and his team, he's engaged a consultant, so we have one study area done, and the project looking there is costly, so we're working on how to phase that in and to do it in segments. He's also got some other areas that he's looking at studying as well, that hopefully we can come to fruition with some smaller scale projects that can help some of that localized flooding. I will say that the amount of rain that I've heard they got down there is unbelievable, and I'm just thankful we did not get it here.
Yeah, it's crazy just to think like, an hour away, it was so different, but yeah, and I know we've talked about that too, that with those extreme rain events, that's something that's really almost impossible to prepare for, so, but,
Right, it is, because they're more intense, they come quicker, and then with the amount, whether it's 8 to 10 inches, I mean, there's not a system that's designed to be able to handle that. And it's sad to see that, but, we've experienced that in 2008 with the amount of rain we got back then. And hopefully we've made a lot of improvements since then, obviously, but avoiding that kind of rainfall is always a good thing.
well, I know we appreciate any studies that can be done and any, additional work that we could look at to improve any conditions with street flooding, because I know that's often something that people are very concerned about because of how much it affects everybody, so. I am not seeing any other questions from council. So with that, thank you again so much for the, sorry, Mr. Schlissler?
The Rawls are here. If you could just, I'm not asking you to address that specific little piece of land, but could you address how the city attempts to be responsible with the discharge of stormwater into the Denevue Creek?
So part of the bank thing I'll address first is that every other year we have in our capital improvement plan monies to do that, and Chris and his team evaluate those. So they go out and evaluate banks, because it's not just Denevue Creek. We have the rivers and McDermott and other areas that we need to evaluate and look at as well, and then that gets prioritized. As far as the pumping goes, that's something that comes out of our stormwater, stations, and if we notice some erosion around those, usually Adam and his team can probably handle most of that, or if we need to bring in somebody, we do it with one of those other projects.
Thank you. Sorry for being
No,
at
thank
tail
you.
end like that.
Yeah, thank you for asking about that. All right, with that, I'm not seeing any more questions. So again, thank you. Thank you to all of the managers for coming in and all of the work that you and all of your teams do for us and for our city. And thank you so much.
Thank you.
And now we'll move on to item C, Community Development 2026 Budget Presentation, presented by Community Development Director, Ms. Benson.
Thank you, Ms. Brault.
You're sitting through another round of budget presentations, not only of operations, but of capital improvements. It feels like you've been here before, and it makes you wonder, what have we done? Your next stop, the budget zone.
So with that, I welcome you to the 2026 Community Development Budget Presentation. It was a little more than 10 years ago that three altruistic, passionate, and some may even say humorous individuals embarked on a journey of knowledge, of service. Those three individuals were myself as the newly appointed Community Development Director, Doug Horth, our Chief Building Inspector, and Kathy Lumens, our Director of the Senior Center. Together, we came together to serve the community. And with that, you see our divisions, community development, the center, inspections, and our parking facilities. We'll start off with our parking facilities. Again, we operate a number of downtown lots, as well as 2 parking ramps. We offer free parking on evenings and weekends, and you can see there a number of stalls. The unassuming parking lot, the memory keeper of the classic Ford Festiva, the AMC Pacer, the short-lived Bird scooter, and the whispers of, where did I park my car? The center, which serves a number of individuals, and I asked each of my team members to reflect on the last 10 years of their service here in the community. For this past year, it's important to note that social isolation and loneliness has the same risk to someone's health as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. So through the center, we focus on offering a variety of programs that meet the 8 pillars of wellness. We offer 250 programs a month. Most of them are unique, including this most recent of 70. We have over 105 volunteers with over 3,300 hours of service. What does it mean to age? Are we aging if we can take off our glasses to read? And in the last 10 years, Kathy and her team at the center have brought forth a number of programs that are different than previous years. We rolled out our Know Before You Need to Know programs that cover a wide variety of information from aging to help individuals plan and prepare over their lifetime, including the ABCs of long-term care, being an adult child of an aging parent, being in that sandwich generation, the various community partnerships that we have rolled out with Fond du Lac Area Transit, the ADRC, United Way, our police department, fire and rescue, and many others. We've also started to work being a center without walls, reaching out to community partners, working with sending out greeting cards to senior living communities. Our Knitwit knitting groups crochet a number of scarves, mittens that are donated to a number of community organizations. We collect 911 cell phones to be refurbished. And we like to have fun. We offer art. We have Fun Shirt Day where you can bring in and wear your fun shirt. We teach classes about, different foods, trying new things, leap into lattes. We've increased our wellness, doing water movement, and we've partnered with the Parks Department and been able to use Taylor Park Pool a lot of times for classes. We encourage our center applicants and clients to kind of pursue their own bucket list challenges. What are the things that they want to, try and pursue in their life? Next, we have inspections. A single building is just a building. Many buildings, constructed over time and space, emerge to create a community. Those buildings represent hours of labor and passion for the project, for the construction, for its use, and for its future. In 2024, we conducted about 6,900 field inspections. We corrected 454 code violations, saw $52 million in commercial investment, 11 in residential, and 13 in residential alterations. As of June of 2025, we're at 3,400 in field inspections, 154 violations corrected, 22 million in commercial development, 2.6 in residential new, and 6.7 in alterations. Over the last 10 years, our inspections team has had the opportunity to be part of a number of great projects. Hotel Retlaw was a challenge because of the number of floors being so tall and the age of its construction. The Fond du Lac School District renovations was bittersweet. So for many of our inspectors, going to the school and seeing the changes that made where you went to school was inspiring. The conversion of the Northern Casket Factory and Winnebago Cheese Building into the Brook Street Lofts, the change of use from an industrial use to residential, as well as the historic repurposing of many of the elements in the building. Healthcare in itself is a very unique building and code and challenging code. So with that, we had the opportunity, most recently in the last 2 years, to experience the Aurora expansion, as well as the new construction of the Freighter Theta Care partnership on West Johnson Street. And in 2019, we had the unfortunate opportunity to have to work with approximately 317 homes that were impacted by that flood. And our team assessed about 280 of those homes for damage, which we're required to do by FEMA standards. So the comprehensive plan, which was adopted in January of 2021, is the roadmap to the future. It's constant but evolving to represent a constant yet evolving community. So far in 2025, we have our floodplain mitigation project, which is the funding you've allocated to us to voluntarily acquire homes in the flood-prone areas to, again, increase capacity by keeping those areas green. You'll be seeing more zoning code updates this fall to represent some of the changes that were recommended as part of the housing plan. You'll see the next rollout of the Fond du Lac Loop Master Plan. The Lakeside Park segment will be installed late summer of this year. Again, continuation of the housing study recommendations, as well as the North Main Street corridor. I'll be talking about that more, but we're very excited that we're finally able to roll out the Business Facade Grant Program. For 2026, again, we'll be moving forward more with the North Main Street project, continuing the implementation of our housing study and our placemaking improvements. We had to take a brief pause on the placemaking, which is the green space over by US Bank. That's because the bank itself is for sale. And so they wanted to pause our partnership until they knew what a future owner might want to do. Housing. So we've got a number of different efforts that we've rolled out since last year. The first was our kind of groundbreaking partnering with residential developers on infrastructure. So in this year's budget, we partnered with 2 developers providing the funding to construct 2 roads in 2 different subdivisions. Those roads are currently under construction. That includes the extension in Eastern Ridge to Lynn Avenue, as well as the first road in the Hidden Valley subdivision, which is over by Holy Family. Hidden Valley will be about 18 lots to begin with from that first part, and then Eastern Ridge will be about 12 to 15. And so that's going very well. We'll be continuing that proposal for 2026. This one, we're proposing just a flat rate so that we can be kind of consistent. So you'll see in the CIP a flat $750,000 for each potential residential partnership. New for 2026 will be property acquisition for residential development. What does that mean? We are proposing to purchase land, a subdivision, to further the housing study. So you're probably looking at me right now like I am crazy. That's okay. So what we talked about when we rolled out the housing study is partnering with developers. But one of the other concerns is how do we bring affordable housing to the community? Because we know that that's a challenge for developers with the cost of construction. So by partnering with them on the ownership of land, part of that land can be then provided to them as an incentive for their development. But we can withhold a portion of that land to roll out those other recommendations in the housing study, which is that proposal where we hold the land and the person builds a home and they own the house above it. And so that is our opportunity on a small scale to roll that out since, we haven't been able to find a nonprofit partner to work with on that front. So understand it's new, understand it's significant, but if we want to move the housing needle forward, sometimes we're going to have to take some risks. We continue to work on redevelopment opportunities. That includes the repurposing of 30 South Main Street, the Marion Building, as well as infill development throughout the city. And obviously also implementing the other aspects of the housing study and strategic plan. This one? There we go, North Main Street corridor, the long-term vision plan. So you'll recall last year was the first year we had money in the budget for the North Main Street project. So our first rollout was proposing to do a business facade grant program similar to the building improvement grant that was for the Downtown Fond du Lac Partnership. We ran into a bit of a hurdle because you can't get money from the city if you owe the city money. And so a number of property owners we found in '24 were not current on their taxes or on their water bills. So in 2024, we sent out a letter to all the businesses and property owners that would be eligible in 2024 saying we would love to roll out this program, we'd love to work with you, but we need you to pay your taxes and pay your water bill. So 2025, guess what? We had people pay their water bills. And we had people pay some taxes. So we were able to roll out that application in July. And so we're working through those interested property owners. This is brand new for them, not something that they're familiar with. So it'll be a slow navigation in helping them identify the projects they want to pursue, completing the grant application, and going through that process. Once you identified the Saputo property for actual development, we have recruited a survey company. We did complete a detailed survey of the property earlier this year. Any developer that wants to look at the property is going to want a detailed survey, boundaries, topography, where utility points are, things like that. So that's been completed. In addition, we completed a phase 1 environmental report on the property. Because again, any developer is going to want to know that a property that was formerly a manufacturing plant, what are they looking at? The initial findings in phase 1 suggest that there will be some areas where we'll need to do a phase 2. There were parts of this property, surprisingly, that had railroad tracks. So we'll need to do a little investigation in that area for that as well. So that'll be that. And then you'll also see in the CIP, we'll be continuing our facade program. And then we'll also be working with our Public Works Department on some of the streetscape elements, some planters and some other things in future years. As always, we value our partnership with the Downtown Fond du Lac Partnership. And as part of the funding within the community development budget, we provide funding for their new business and experience generator grants, which has been a very well received, the building improvement grant, the newly created creative sign grant, which if you've driven up and down Main Street, Suyax, Fond du Lac Cyclerly are 2 examples of creative sign grants. Our catalytic project, the most recent completed one was the wood sampler, and you'll be looking to see some changes coming soon that you can focus on. That's just a little hint on who we're going to be working on next. And then, of course, the downtown landscaping. But downtown also involves a really great amenity, and that's our river. And so as part of the riverfront plan, later this year, we're going to be partnering with a consultant to put together some more detailed plans that we can go out for bid on to do the part of the nodes that were outlined in the riverfront plan so that we can build out, that first node. We're going to stick with Hamilton Park because we most recently completed the restroom project. And so we'll be continuing the additional improvements that were outlined in the riverfront plan in the Hamilton Park area as part of that first node we're going to tackle. So here you have the outline of our investments over the next few years, including that big one, what we're calling infill residential development. But obviously, a lot of these are still the same from last year. Also, we'll be continuing our Gateway Development Project. That's where we're looking to do kind of a pop in each of our roundabouts. Because several years ago, we did a community exchange, and one of the feedbacks we got was, where did we land? And so as people are coming in off the freeway, you'll be seeing signage and elements and other things in the roundabouts, identifying and highlighting and acknowledging that you've entered a really awesome community.
Every department, every budget supports becoming a place where people can live, work, and play. The effort seems mundane and unexciting, but it is clear the dividends are substantial. The 2026 budget cycle comes with new projects, new ideas, and yes, yet another bridge. A bridge to collaboration, public service, to cake. No, it is really just a bridge.
So with that, I conclude the 2026 Community Development budget, and I'm more than happy to entertain any questions.
Thank you so much. I was really worried the budget zone was going to be scary. So. All right, I will open it up to questions from council, and we'll start with Mr. Mullen.
Yes, I'm very interested in the infill residential project. Could we get some more details? I mean, how much land are we talking about here, or how many properties?
It is tell you? Anyway, so it is a large area of development. I can't remember the acreage off the top of my head, but we're looking at probably a minimum of, 60 to 80 lots.
Okay. And how many of those are we talking about? Because you had mentioned city would acquire the land, own it, and then lease it? Or how exactly is that going to work?
So the proposal would be that, yes, we own it, and then as we partner with a developer for each kind of segment of a street, right? So they would partner on the street, and then we would pretty much give or sell them a lot at a nominal fee, right? Because they're, instead of always providing funding for infrastructure, the other opportunity to facilitate housing is to give them the lot at a nominal cost.
Okay.
And so then have them cover the cost of the infrastructure. And then the other part of it is, so that would still be private development, housing values at whatever, point in time. But a number of the lots could be reserved for our partnership with however we want to lay it out, that, then we would own the underlying land, potentially a long-term lease with the owner, and again, that property owner would then kind of build the house, they would own the house, kind of in the concept that would be outlined, that was outlined in the housing study. So there's still, some of the nuances that would need to be worked out, and the other benefit of this is it's a small scale. So we can do 2 houses, see how it goes, because this is brand new for all of us, rather than, committing to, that whole entire development for ourselves, and then trying to figure out how to sell each lot or lease each lot and develop it. We have a partner that we continue to see housing development on this segment, and then we have the ability to, again, help facilitate some affordable housing options on the other side.
Okay. So we're looking to start small on this.
Small is always good until you know what you're doing.
I mean, I'm familiar with a project in North Carolina that sounds very similar to this, where
Yep.
they own there's a co-op essentially that owns the land underneath the houses, and
Yeah, most of those situations, there are communities or states that have nonprofit partners, or what they call CHODOs, which is a community housing development organization. We don't have a lot of those here in the state of Wisconsin. So sometimes when you want to do something, you kind of got to figure out a way to do it yourself if you can't find a partner to do that.
Right.
And so that's what we would be, looking to undertake. And as those individuals, do this in multitude of different ways, not just what, that kind of concept is, but they do other types of housing development. So this is definitely a new, venture for us, but an opportunity again to try to bring that housing cost down, because even though us covering the cost of infrastructure does help reduce the cost of the lot, the cost of materials is still, pretty significant for some homes, but hopefully with that partnership, we can make some affordable homes available.
well, I look forward to seeing how this comes out and getting more details on it. Thank you. That's it.
Thank you. Are there any other questions from council members? Mr. Heisler.
Great presentation as always, Ms. Benson. I would have been very disappointed if there wasn't cake, so thanks for including the cake. I'm just curious, can you expand a little bit on what you had hoped to accomplish with the Hamilton Park area?
Sure. So within the riverfront plan, you'll recall there was some additional amenities along the river. So we're not going to touch the riverbanks, because that's a whole other conversation with a whole other group of individuals at a whole other level of state and federal that we're not really ready to enter in a relationship with.
Got it.
And so we'd really be focusing on, kind of cleaning up that area along the river area, adding some additional amenities that were outlined, in the riverfront plan, not necessarily reorientating all the recommendations, because some of them had them changing the basketball court and other things, but also kind of working with Public Works, because I believe they're planning on some work on the Hamilton Park stormwater management pond and creating some amenities and making it more of an attractive space there.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Any other questions from council? I am not seeing any. Well, we are all looking forward to new projects, new ideas, everything that's coming in the budget zone. All right. Well, thank you so much for your presentation. And that is our last input item, so I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Zimmerman, second by Mr. Heisler. This is not debatable. Please proceed to vote. And that passes unanimously. We are adjourned.
There we go.